Had a thought that came into my mind, the concept of a war in heavens. And just the very thought of those words conjures up a lot of contradictory thoughts, and that's a good way to jump into something. I had an idea, there's two ways to approach something like this. You can sit down and write out all your thoughts and then go into it with the concept of where, with an idea, sketched out pattern outline of where you're going to end up in the conversation. But with this one being a war in heavens, I thought it was especially good to just go live with it, with the thoughts colliding with each other in your mind and you trying to sort out which words to put out. And that is kind of the whole idea, because you got to understand, you got to wonder, you got to think about, or you don't have to, but I am thinking about where words come from. And you're always thinking, you're, whether you try and think or not, that's, you might be able to slow thought down and you might be able to delay it for a while, but thoughts will always come back in, good or bad, whether you want them to or not. The ongoing, say you got, imagine captions on the bottom of the screen, the words keep coming across, but there's breaks in between because there's silence or whatnot. Imagine that dialogue never stops. Well, that's your human mind. And you wonder if other people's human mind is thinking in their given language, or if it's outside the field of language, because before you even have the vocabulary, you're having thoughts. Once you have vocabulary, your thoughts, if you ever listen to them, they take place in words. So words keep coming, and that is interesting, because where did the thoughts come from? And because you're always, it's kind of like wondering where the wind comes from. That is why sometimes in dialogue you have to stop and slow down, where in thoughts you don't do so much. In dialogue, you have to pick out which words are the right words to say. And that's interesting, kind of like a fire that's got smoke coming up from it. You'll see that smoke changes directions, and you wonder why it can suddenly be going so fast towards one person, and you ever feel like it was following you. And that's an interesting thing, because I worked as a snowmaker, and as a snowmaker you find out that generally the wind stays going in a particular direction for hours upon hours upon hours. Some, obviously the wind changes direction sometimes, but there's a prevailing wind in given areas that's usually a set way. But when there's a fire going on, it doesn't seem like it's so much. And that's not, maybe very much not coincidental. And the Native American thinking that fire is so related to spirit, because the wind's changing and what's calling this in. Now, there's a concept that all, you've heard of the term enlightenment. There is a concept out there that light itself is consciousness, that all points of light are putting out consciousness. And that comes in with the idea of shadows being unknown areas and light being things that you can see and know and grasp. Well, it might not all be metaphorical. It could be possibly that, obviously without light, nothing would be known in terms of vision. But would it be, is there also shadow in the other senses? Can taste buds be shadowed? Can hearing be shadowed? Obviously, we know that things can be silenced. Now, getting back to the war in heavens, is that when these things start to get cut upon, I say cut upon in that the chain of words is no longer so smoothly flowing. A wind could be coming from a different direction that's making you think that way for a second. And that these two winds colliding and battling it out to see which way the words are going to flow, that's not unlike a war in heavens. Getting back to the original concept of what heaven is that, we think it is some point in school you learn that the idea of primitive man, quote unquote primitive man, didn't understand the cosmos. So they thought that heaven was just up there in the stars, everything high above the head. Well, that's not unlike where I'm thinking of it right now, in that things above you, things that are up above your head, is sort of is your heaven to a degree. And I've come to it where the thoughts that I already had, even coming into this, was somehow how Social media, to the degree, has become a heaven because it is powers above you. Now, war in the heavens means that not all these powers are in agreement with one another. And I do believe that that is the case in social media. I think that there's, developers of software. Some of them may have just been developing it surely for the potential of what the software could do. And whether they had good intentions or bad intentions with the software is really obsolete to a degree at this point, because it's a matter of way it's being used now. And I think that, there's trends in it. A lot of trends that people are openly discussing as a good trend is that, what is it? Acceptance. Anybody who is, we want more acceptance in society because that's more open and free, and that allows more people to be uh, comfortable with themselves. And we know, and bullying is a bad thing. So the thing's idea that people are, one improvement we can make to the world is that people are able to feel more free and open about themselves. So then comes the idea of then who is fighting against that. Well, who would be fighting against that would be people who would be the bulliers, the people trying to make these people not feel free. So in social media, the dictation of this, the way to eliminate it is to find out the people who are trying to make people feel uncomfortable about themselves. So the villain is always going to be ideally would be a person who is trying to silence other people, but anybody who is in that category would have been labeled that going into that category, that this was someone who was trying to make a certain type of person feel bad about themselves, trying to silence certain types of people. Now, the punishment for being in this is that then your words don't go out there anymore. So if you're in the category, then then what you said that got you into that mess might not even be able to be put out. You understand? Is that you got to be real careful who you've put in there. And if you happen to be the guard walking past this person who's in this category, who was in this category, so the words can't go out there, and maybe you pick up on something that, like, maybe this person wasn't who we thought they were when they got put in there, or who the other person thought they were when they put them in there. And that is the case because the war in the heavens means not all those beings up there are angels. And there could be people who have their own particular enemies in this realm that's there themselves. They don't call themselves demons or angels, but to the lower person down, way, 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 way down, using the phone or the laptop, they are that high up because they've got control over their life. So they're like, and they can be an angel if they help them be themselves, rise to a higher level of audience, or they can be a demon if they shut them down and put them down there. Well, now from way up in that realm, you can be looking down at that person's down there not able to speak and not able to make money off of what they say because they don't deserve to, because they're the demon. We can all call each other's angels and demons, but the idea of war in the heavens. Now, we don't want this thought. That's a contaminating word on what we want to think of as heaven. And what do we want to think of as heaven? Is a place that's better than where we're at. No matter where you're at, see, there'll always be a concept of what is better than where you're at. And that always is the heaven. Well, where is heaven at is always above you. So it's always what you're aspiring towards. That's what I think is so interesting about the Lord's Prayer, because it's "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So heaven is what you're aspiring to, and earth is where you're at. So doing things here on earth the way you would like them to be done in heaven. And that's a good idea with all regards for personal actions and for mediation of other people's actions. Because when in heaven you got the concept that things are good there, but then you got this term that's set out that I thought would be so interesting to discuss as a war in heavens, because we would want there to be peace in heavens, would we not? It depends. It depends on whether you like war or you like peace. Now, how peaceful is paradise is a term of whether is making it would have to be all warriors would be willing participants in it. They would have to it would have to be a war that both sides were wanted, and that is not bullying for sure. Um, Combat sports, we have a lot of people enjoy watching them, and a lot of people apparently enjoy partaking in them. So that would be, you know, is there that in heaven? Would there be fighting in heaven? Well, I guess it would depend on your idea of it, and that would be like if a battling warrior really enjoyed it that much, and I guess in their heaven that might be what they'd be doing. That's side tangent to think about, because some people say there'd be no humor in heaven. I think it was William Shakespeare. You might want to look that up. Said that there would be no humor in heaven because there's always somebody pays the price for it. There's always somebody being laughed at if there's somebody laughing. Well, what if you're okay with that? And because the fool is okay sometimes with the gesture. The jester, was he put there, or did he willingly think that laughter is such a neat thing that he can laugh with it, even knowing he's being foolish? He himself still might be able to see some appreciation in himself being foolish. And there goes another. Here's cut in thought from the side, coming into with side tangent to while some things were going on with me coming towards this war in heavens idea. I made a comment today on a Theo Von podcast, and he'd said something, and I made a comment on it, and it was a positive comment, very positive, that I don't think any mediator of his channel could possibly think was anything other than positive. And yet a first comment underneath mine comes in as a spam comment saying, advertising something, a WhatsApp app or something like that. I'm not sure what the ad was. I didn't even look at it closely enough. But then I go in and, uh, click that, reporting that as spam, because I'm thinking, well, now it's going to cause my comment to look like it was spam because it carries this conjunction. Now, YouTube has a new thing where all your channels are linked together under one name that's called your handle. And that's a good thing because it should be able to identify these spammers quite quickly. I shouldn't have to be the one reporting it. The comment should be, if the ad is clearly an ad, anyone can look at it and see it's an ad towards something, then it should be able to be seen by these people that in the heavens of higher power in social media should be able to quickly see that. Now, where a hacker, when people manipulating, suppressing people, would be battling down the people they're trying to suppress them, would be possibly by, if they got them hacked and they are able to do things within their accounts, they're going to attach them to negative things. Like they might attach them to the spammer, like I was worried I was being, because it's just got my comment and one reply, which is spam. So there you're looking at two things, and one of them's bad. And like, well, could be casting the baby out with the bathwater if they're not the same thing, you see. So we have to learn to separate the baby from the bathwater, because the bathwater was a spam. And my nice little comment, and it's kind of funny, and it was kind of interesting to think about, was my baby. It came out there, and I'm like, and so you don't want your babies tossed out. Your good ideas, your ideas meant for good purposes, that that other people are going to think they're good if they're able to see them and hear them. And that would be, that would be like if your war not only in the heavens, but war trying to get up there. If your words aren't free to get out to even the guard, because the guard's a robot that has no emotions or feelings, then you're really in a pickle, because you can't. And some people might be in a pickle unjustly. We're going to put people in pickles to rehabilitate them or just keep the rest of society safe from them. But what if the people that are in there or put in there because they were the good guys? Maybe they battled too many bullies. Maybe the bullies worked their way up to a position of power and are still bullying. And so this idea that the ones above are always have done the right things to get there might not be the right case. They may have got there through bullying. And that would be a war in the heavens, in the lower idea of degrees of heavens. Because me talking about social media executives and people in positions of power who I don't even know. Person like, if you're gonna make accusations, name the person you're accusing. Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm looking at a screen that's just showing me, and I'm imagining that there's other people beyond that. It seems like there would be, but I'm not seeing. There's no names in my chat, so I mean, there's nothing to indicate there. If it tells me I've got a viewer, let's see, do I have any viewers right now? No, no, it says no one's watching, but there still might be. There may or may not be. I don't know. So for me to name my who I'm talking to, I can't, because you might be in a point in time, and you might be in a point in space right now at the present. You might be in a point in time, space, obviously, that I know not, because I know that not if anyone's even there. And the time when you're seeing this, I don't know. So I'm speaking out over the cosmos to people who may be coming across this at some point in time. And that's back to the analogy of a prison guard. Now, why do I feel like I'm kept in a prison? Well, because there's nobody here listening to me. I mean, that's an idea. It's a solitary cell at the moment. And this running dialogue is what I'm trying to pick a lock that's appears to have me locked out of, or so be it. And if you caught any of this and you want to, then I guess to a degree, the words got out of the cell. And that's all we can really ever hope for, is that the thought, what are we but our thoughts and our feelings? And if you've come across this and the thoughts and feelings have gotten out, then it was a successful thing, even though you're looking back to a point in time where it's being spoke out from the cell. Now, that is where obviously I still have hope, or I wouldn't be talking. So I know, so I'm saying the war in heavens is not me making accusations up to the heavens, not up to the guards, not up to the designers of the software, because I know that there's goodness in all that. There's good people up there. And that's what I'd like to ally myself with. And I want you to be clear on the fact that I am an ally to the goodness. That is where my allyship lies. That's why the devil would never buy my soul, because he knows I would betray him, because I aspire to righteousness, outwardly stated about that. Now, outwardly stated about the fact that I will, certain amount of weakness will arise where I might not always be on the perfect step at the perfect time, and that is a degree down from righteousness. Me saying that's probably going to happen at some point in time is just, see, I mean, it would be, to me, you'd have to be insane to think that that isn't going to happen, because we don't, if say anyone you love so truly and close, you said that they're going to be perfect for this point on, you might have to roll your eyes at them and say, like, well, that's good that you feel that way, but you're probably wrong, because we all make mistakes, and we all will make mistakes. But that's not a excuse for some horrible act I'm going to do, because I don't feel I'm going to do a horrible act. And so whatever, there we go. And there it went, and enjoy it or employ it. Good night. Good way.